thanks to Ayur for giving me this platform to share whatever little knowledge I have so far, so that you can also benefit and you can also know how to start photography professionally and how to uh, take it to the next level. So what we are going to cover in this webinar are three things. So the agenda is simple. First, we'll cover the photography basics. Okay. Then we'll cover how to be a professional photographer from an amateur photographer. And then the most important part, or which I believe that a lot of people are very good at photography. They have amazing skills. They have amazing fan following on Instagram, on social media, on all the platforms. But they lack making money. So which is not if you're good at something, you should not do it for free, right? So that's the thing that we are going to cover later in the webinar. Okay. So now, although there are, everyone says that a lot of people, and I'm sure that most of us who have joined today will say that I want to be a photographer. But the next question that, and the most important question that one should ask is, what sort of photographer do I want to be, right? Because photography is okay. It is simply that taking a camera, be it phone or be it a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, going to a place or seeing something differently, seeing something the way that others don't see, trying to get really good shots. But that is not enough. If I have to give you money, if I have to give my business or hire you for some sort of photography, then you should be expert in something. So if you look at, if you just Google for the different types of photography, there are, I'm sure, more than 50 to 60 photography categories, be it wedding photography, fashion photography, street travel, wildlife, as I have mentioned here. But every photographer, everyone who's expert at these particular forte, they have a specific skill set, one or two skill sets, which make them exceptional in that particular field of photography. Okay. So I'll start with, I'll tell you my personal experience. So when I started off, I did a lot of different genres of photography. I tried to uh, click baby pictures. So basically, friends and families, because I had a camera, they would say, "Hey, can you click my baby pictures?" And obviously, I was not completely into one particular field, and I was always open to trying different things. But later, I realized that I'm not a very good baby photographer, because I don't have those patience. I can't really wait for 10 hours for the baby to get up and then click. And I'm not even that creative when it comes to setting up things really nicely around the baby. But one thing I always knew that I connect with people a lot. I'm a very extrovert person. And that's when I realized that I want to be a wedding photographer. So that's why I chose wedding photography. So if you really are looking forward to be a professional photographer, the very first thing that you should really understand and know is that, what is it that excites you? Is it traveling? Does traveling excite you? Do you always go to beautiful places and you see good places, but you come back, those are all in your memories, but those are not in your hard drive or your camera? So then that is a hint that you should be into travel photography. Does Do you always think that when food comes to your table in a restaurant, do you always try and click pictures, and compared to your friends, your pictures are better than your friends? Then you know that food photography is something that you should really look for. So every genre of photography has multiple different things associated with it. So you should really know what is it that really excites you, what is it is in you. So there's talent and there's gift, right? So few people are gifted with something, and talent is something that you can actually develop. So there is always an inherent gift that you have. So you just have to figure out what that is, and sooner or later that comes to. And then talent is something that, with hard work, you can somehow develop it, right? So let's start with the basics of photography. So if you Google, there are lots and lots of different things that, a lot of big blogs and a lot of listed items, which will tell you that these are all the 10-20 things that you should do to get one perfect photography. But to start with, these are the three basic things that I feel you should really look forward to, and you should really take care of these things so that you'll get a good picture. These are not in any particular order. These three are important to have a good picture. Okay, so a decent phone or camera. I'm not saying that you should have a DSLR or you should have a really expensive camera. Even a 8,000, 6,000, 7,000 phones also have really good cameras. Okay, now once you have the device to capture it, the two next things are light and composition. Okay, so when I was creating this presentation this morning, so I did a simple experiment where what I did was I got a prop which was right in front of me. It was kept next to my laptop, and I clicked it in the same place where I was sitting. I just took my camera out and I clicked this image. So the light was low because the curtains were closed. Okay, so this is not a very good picture. The next thing that I did was I went onto the window and I clicked it. So it's the same prop. The time of the day is same. The camera is same. The only thing I did was open the curtains and move the prop into light. So you can see how important light is for photography. Okay, in the later part of this webinar, we'll talk about how we can modify light and how we can play around with light to create different effects. Okay, now second, once you got the light right, now the next thing is to see the composition of the picture. Now what do you mean by composition? So composition is basically how things are placed in the photo, or in wherever you are, whenever you are clicking yeah, exactly. So Harshit is saying that photography is lighting with lights. That's absolutely that's really nice thing to say. That's the definition of photography. So photo is light, and graphy is basically the art of playing around with lights. So yeah, so composition, basically you can't just keep the things as it is and click a picture. So now, if let's say if you are asked to click a product in a really nice way, so you can't just take a top angle, front angle, side angle of the product. That's not it. You need to create a composition in such a way that there's a story in that photograph. Okay, so this is what I did. So I picked up the next three, there were three more such props, and I kept them. So this photo was looking quite well, but it wasn't looking that good. As you know, I knew that I could do much better. So all I did was I just moved myself little bit with a maybe 10 to 20 degrees angle, and this is what I got. So basically the light is same, the props are same, I just changed my angle. So although this is not the very right definition of composition, but it tells you how things look different. Okay, now if you go back and look at the first photo, so if you compare this first photo that we clicked against this photo, you can see the difference, right? There's a reflection, there's a black surface, there's really soft light, then and there is no post processing of Photoshop done. So these are the two most important things that you should always look for. You should, whenever you're clicking a picture, you should click the picture. Before you click the picture, you should just think for a second that what is it that you're clicking, and once you click it, you should reanalyze the picture, and you should ask yourself, can there be a better way to click this picture? If and then try it in a couple of different ways, and I'm sure that one way or the other you'll get a really good angle. Now let's get into the technicalities. Now, although we are saying that phone is enough, but let's say if I'm giving you lakhs and lakhs of rupees to come and shoot my wedding, or to come and shoot an ad film for me, or to shoot the billboard posters for me, then I'm not going to trust with the phone. And also, phone has a lot of shortcomings, so that's why obviously there's a reason why cameras are still in business, right? Otherwise they would have run out of business. So these are the two basic, I would say, semi-professional and professional cameras. So in Canon, if you see, the way to identify whether a camera is of high quality or low quality is a number. So the smallest the number which is given here, the more expensive and the better quality of that camera. Bigger the number here, so that will be, so that's the simplest way Canon has identified, given the nomenclature. Now, uh, if you look at the cross sensor sizes, so the camera are more or less of same size. Just this 60 is slightly bigger than 80D. But if you look at this part, which is the sensor on which the light comes and hits, so this is bigger and this is smaller. That's one major difference. There are a lot of differences, but this is the very basic difference. So if someone asks you that what camera, is it a full frame camera or crop camera, this is the basic thing that you should know. So this is the difference in which if I click a picture with a crop sensor, then only this much part will be covered in the photo. But if I take a full frame camera, then this entire piece will come. So you see how much difference it makes. So let's say if a group of people is standing here, with a crop sensor, I'll only get this much part, whereas with a full frame, I'll get the entire part. Okay. So so now I'm sure that all of you must be seeing a lot of different smaller cameras that people have. So those are called mirrorless camera. So if you know, if you must have, like, a lot of people must have studied in the school the concepts of physics and lenses. So how cameras work are basically the light comes and falls on the sensor, and then it goes back in the reverse order, then it gets onto the negative and the photo is created, right? So what happens in mirrorless camera is that entire mechanism is uh, taken read of, and everything happens digitally. So the size is smaller, the weight is smaller, so it's easier to, you know, carry the camera everywhere, and it's much better, and the performance is also really good. Okay, now let's learn about the way in which how to handle a DSLR. What are the most important things, and what are the basic of the basic things that you can do in order to get a good photo. So these are the three most important things that you have to change for any given particular condition. Uh, so our aim is to get light inside the camera. Okay. Now, what does shutter speed mean? So basically, shutter speed on the so the imagine the camera as a window, okay, and the lens, or imagine the camera as your brain, and imagine the lens as your eye. So basically, अगर मैं लाइट में डायरेक्ट देखता हूँ, और अगर मैं आंखें बहुत टाइम तक, इफ आई कीप माई आईज ओपन, तो बहुत ज्यादा लाइट ऑब्वियसली अंदर जाएगी, राइट? तो जितनी बड़ी मैं आंखें खोलता हूँ, उतनी ज्यादा लाइट मेरे अंदर ब्रेन को हिट कर रही है, राइट? सो द size of my eye opening is nothing but the aperture. Okay. And so if you keep the aperture size small, then basically you'll get brighter. So aperture size is inversely proportional to the how much the lens opens. Okay. Shutter speed is basically how fast the shutter of the camera should click. So let's say if I keep the shutter 1 by 200, that means the shutter should open and close. So it's basically saying that I should open my eyes and close my eyes at a speed of 200 second of a second, 200 part of a second. So that fast. So it is simple, right? If I keep the shutter open for a longer time, more light will come in. But if a lot of light comes, then so let's say if a man is moving, and if I keep the shutter open for 2 seconds, so the man has moved from point A to point B, and the shutter is open for 2 seconds. So obviously the entire movement will be captured in the camera, and he will get a blurred picture. Okay. And ISO is basically what is the light present in the atmosphere. If there is more light, then you should keep the ISO small. If there is low light, then you should keep the ISO low. Okay, so I'll share this presentation with you, although it may sound too technical for now. But once you have a camera, or once you have a manual mode in your phone, you will really know that, you know, how these different things will work. Now we have spoken about the body. Now let's talk about the next thing, which is more important than that, is the lenses, which are actually different lenses create different effects. So there are different types of lenses that a lot of photographers, so depending on your needs, basically use different lenses. So there are basic kit lens. So if you buy a basic DSLR, the basic lens that comes with it is generally 1855 or 18135. So it is not that good quality lens. Macro lenses are used to click pictures of macro pictures, like very close-up shots, and everything is blurred in the background. Wide angle lenses are basically used to, let's say if I want to capture Taj Mahal from a very short distance, right? But if I use a zoom lens, then I might get only a small part. But if I want to capture the entire architecture, then I'll need a wide lens or an ultra wide lens. So depending on what is your use case, you have different lenses. Now I'm going to show you a couple of pictures that I clicked recently, and I'll show you how we use different lenses. Okay, so this is a this is a semi-wide, or you can say a wide-angle lens. This is a Sigma 35. So the next picture you'll see. So me and my fellow partner photographer, we are standing at the same distance from the bride, but we have used different lenses. So I have used a 35 lens. So we are at the same distance, but just look at the difference. So she has clicked this picture from the same distance from the opposite side, and I have clicked this picture from the same distance from this side. So you see the difference. So this is to capture the entire feel of the environment, whereas this is more for capturing close-ups and details in the object and the subject. Okay. This is a wide angle lens. Like I was giving you Taj Mahal's example. So this is one really wide shot that you can see. If I had used a 85 lens, only this much portion of the couple would have been captured. So I will use an 85 lens to get a close up. If I want to use this much door, this much frame, then I'll use a 35. But this is a 20 lens, so it is a ultra wide lens. Okay, so this is how different lenses are used. Now, coming to the second topic, how to be a professional from an amateur photographer. So I have always been emphasizing on controlling the light. So you have to know how to control a light. Now, just having a camera and having one camera body and one lens will not give you the professional effects. The reason why these pictures are looking so amazing are because there are multiple lights. So if you see, this is the beautician's light, which is kept here. In this, there's a light which is hitting straight on the bride's jewelry. Okay, so those are different lights that we use. Okay, in this so controlling light is really important. So once you have a good hand on camera lenses, the next thing that you should aim is to buying a flash, or having basically trying to modify the light using flash. Okay. Second learning that I have got through all these years is you should set the shot before you shoot. So you just can't randomly go on clicking and hope that there will be, like, out of 100 shots I'll get one shot which is good. No, that doesn't happen that way. What you have to do is you have to think what I'm going to do. Let's say if but it might not happen in a wedding, or if you are a wildlife photographer. But if you are a food photographer, or if you're a product photographer, you have a lot of time. You know that what I want to shoot, and then you shoot it accordingly. Post processing is really important. Okay. So now I'll just quickly take you through some of the light controls that we have done. So in this photo, there are multiple lights. So there is one person, my assistant, he's standing here, and he's hitting one light onto this person's face. There is one person who's standing here who's hitting a light on this bride's face. Okay. There's a phone that we have kept here. Okay. Which is generating the reflection. And there's a 35 lens, which is giving me the entire frame. And then, so I have, so I control the light. I knew this shot. If I didn't know this shot, then probably I wouldn't have kept my phone here. So I knew how to control the light. I knew what I was imagining. Now, the third is post processing. My camera did not give me this black and white effect. I did that in Photoshop. Okay. Now this is also a same way. Now, obviously, if you see behind the bride, it is all dark, right? But that's not possible. There's a wedding going on. It can't be dark. It is very, very, very bright. But with the light modifiers and with the skills that I have grown over these years, this is what I have devised. So there is a flash that you get. There's a modifier on that flash, which will allow you to put the light only on the bride. Okay, and you keep the ISO very low. You keep the shutter speed very high, and eventually only little amount of light is entering the camera. So all the light which is here in the background, before the light hits my lens and my camera, what I've done is I've closed the shutter so quickly that I didn't let the light come from there. So only the light which is very high here, that is something that is passing into my camera, right? Now I spoke about two things: controlling the light and setting the shot perfect. Now this is one of the recent shoots that we did. Now, this is a very natural shot. There is very little Photoshop that I've done. The only thing that I've done in this shot is basically color correction. I'll show you the original shot. This is the original shot. You see the difference? So when we were there, when we were clicking at that, so this is in Ahmedabad. So it's a step well. So we were standing. So basically, if you see in the previous photos, so this is where I was sitting to click the picture, and where I'm clicking this picture from, so that's where the couple was lying down. And I already could see that it was after Holi, and I could see that people had played Holi, and they were like some color left. So this is a trick that you do. So in DSLR, you should always click in RAW mode. So I'm sure that you must have seen in your cameras also. There are a lot of there is an option to click in RAW mode, right? Have you guys seen? Do you guys have that RAW mode in your cameras? Yeah, right. So what happens in a raw mode is that when you click a normal photo, then JPEG is basically a compressed format. So imagine a club sandwich with 10 breads kept on each other. Okay. So now if I have a sandwich with 10 breads on top of each other, that is my raw file, which is this. Okay. Now a JPEG is basically a sandwich with just two bread. So what JPEG does is JPEG basically grills the entire 10 breads, and it just gives you one two slice of breads which has all the required information. So you should always click the picture in raw mode, and then use tools like Snapseed, Lightroom, or Photoshop to enhance it in this way. So I'm not fooling my clients, or this is not, I edited this photo in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. All I had to do was just enhance the colors. That's it. There was nothing else that I did. But you see, and it is not even a fake photo, or like a lot of photographers, they edit the photo and Photoshop a lot, right? So this is how you should, these are the few things that you should think now. Now I have only 6 minutes left for my monologue, so I'll get straight to the point where we talk about how to make money. Now, when I showed you that there are so many different ways of there are so many different categories of photography. One thing, do not pursue photography only to make money. Okay, if you are good at skills, if you have really good skills, it will be, people will come, people will call you to click the pictures. I do not do any marketing, but I still get at least 2 to 3 weddings every month. I have the liberty to just one big wedding, or one wedding that I feel that is will do justice to my work, and I will do justice to their work. So that happens only when you have. So that's wedding. Okay. Now you have to realize what is it that you really enjoy. Okay, like I said before. Now if you go into so the minimum that you can earn in photography, or the easiest way that you, so there are a lot of social media influencers which are there are a lot of social media influencers. So I used to get these calls and offers of they used to call me for like 2-3 hours for at least 10 to 15 photos, and they would say that we'll pay you 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. Okay, so that's one. Second is, when you take it, that's a very small amount, or a very small start, but that's a good start. Second is, when you do commercial photography, so you do not directly work with the clients, but there are big brands, let's say Samsung, or Pixel, or iPhone. They want to do a photography of their phones, so they will not contact you directly. You have to build your portfolio. You have to use platforms like Behance, Instagram, Flickr, and you have to make sure that your portfolio is such a good portfolio that these agencies will know that there is a person called, let's say, Raj, or there's a person called Bhavesh, who are so good at that work that I can reach out to them. So whenever a brand reaches out to an agency, the agency will reach out to you. Okay, that's one. There's another way in which monetization is done is by selling your pictures on Shutterstock or these stock images. Okay, so you will not get images directly when you upload the pictures there, but what you do is you basically upload all your good pictures there. There are standards that they have given, and once your photo starts getting downloaded, then it is basically like YouTube, right? You put content on YouTube, people watch your YouTube videos, brands put advertise on them, and then you get the commission, right? Same way it happens in stock images as well. If you are into wedding photography, or you're into wildlife photography, then there are a lot of magazines, there are a lot of big wildlife photographers who will help you to monetize, who will you have to assist them, you get to learn them, you get some stipend, and then there are big magazines who will hire you for, be it it could be a photojournalism, or it could be standalone assignment. So there are various ways in which you can earn money, right? What you have to understand, again and again I'm saying that um, do not think that photography will give you money quickly. That doesn't happen. To earn a lot of money through photography, it takes years, and it is, it is through my personal experience, to all my friends in photography that I've heard, it takes a lot of time for you. Because see, if I have to be a good wedding photographer, if I have to show you my work, I have to spend at least 2 to 3 years or maybe 1 year to make a good portfolio. I can work under big brands. I can work under really great photographers, and then I can, create my portfolio, and then I can sell that portfolio to others. Okay, photojournal. So and what important is also is you have to capture stories. So be it any sort of, be it wildlife photography, be it wedding photography, candid photography, journalism, you have to basically capture stories. Okay, you have to never stop experimenting, because that's something that will give you good shots. So no one is, people are creative, but a lot of creativity comes when you actually experiment. There are so many photos that I have clicked and people have gone crazy over those photos, and it was just a small experiment that I did, and people just love those photos. Okay, know and believe in your style. So first you should know your style. So my style is that of a photojournalist. So I cover weddings in such a way that it looks like one of your friends is in the wedding and he's clicking the picture. So that's how I capture weddings. Okay, if you take up your if let's say if you become a photographer, then you should know what is your style. Let's say if you are a very introvert person and you can't mingle around and just giggle around with the families, be very friendly with the families, so that is something that you can't do, then it's okay, you don't have to be. So you will have your own style of clicking pictures. Okay, and the last thing is market yourself very well. That is something that is very important in photography. So because this profession is a skill based profession. Okay, it is not something that you earned a degree, you earned a post grad, you earned an MBA, and people will hire you for that. No, you have to prove yourself time and again. You have to keep creating content. You have to keep making sure that you are so good that people will really love your work. You have to keep enhancing on the equipment. You have to keep enhancing on all of it. Okay, now quickly I'll tell you one, like a lot of people who have always asked me, and who want to learn photography, who want to do internship with me, who want to do it professionally, but do not have enough budget, enough money to spend, because photography comes with a lot of investment. The mirrorless cameras come for minimum, good professional 1.5 to 2.5 lakhs. The high end camera that we use for weddings, they are for 3 to 5 to 4 to 4.5 lakh rupees. So we also have not invested so much. There are a lot of vendors who give you all these on rent. You can actually go to those vendors for one day. The camera rents vary from 1000 to 2000. So let's say if you want to capture a wedding, you have the, now let's say in 6 months you really go, you are beyond your, you really achieve those skill sets, but you know that I need these three lenses. So don't go out and buy lenses worth 10 lakh rupee. Just pay a rent of 5000 rupees, cover that in the wedding, and you just like return the camera and the lenses to the rental shop. So that's something that a lot of people do not know. Okay, so with this, I would end my monologue, and I'll be open for questions. So guys, I mean, you guys can start asking the questions right away. Okay, so we have a question. Can you give tips on product photography? So yeah, so product photography is very interesting. I have done a few of them in my initial days as well. You should, the kind of lenses that generally people use in product photography are macro lenses. Okay. Uh, then the lighting is really important. A lot of times what happens is that you have the product photography box and you have all those things, but you see that if you zoom in the picture, you'll see that there's a reflection of a person clicking the picture, or the reflection of something which is there in the room. So you have to click multiple pictures, and then you have to do a post processing, which will help you in getting a really clean shot. Okay, that's one of the tips that I have from my experiences. um, okay, and yeah, and also what is very important in product photography is the way in which you keep the products. So you cannot just keep the product, like if let's say if there's a shampoo bottle, you just can't keep the shampoo bottle, click a picture. What you have to do is, let's say if it's an amla shampoo, so you cut the amlas, keep it inside. So that piece of decor around that product is will take you places. So it's not just the technicalities of the shoot, but also the technicality in which you arrange the shot. Tips for travel photography and how do we market it? So for travel photography, Flickr is one place that I have really felt that is a really good platform. Nat Geo has its own Your Shot forum, where a lot of these travel photographers and a lot of photographers upload all sort of pictures, where you can go and you can create your own. So there are different categories of pictures. So you should make sure that you have your portfolio uploaded on these portals. Okay, and use hashtags on your social media. One thing that I have really understood is that if you really want, networking helps you in everything. Okay, be it photography, be it business, be it career, be it education. If you don't be shy, if you're just starting out, make sure you try and keep sending messages to all the greatest wildlife photographers. Ask them for send them your pictures, ask them for reviews. I was basically, I never knew that these people would be so nice and kind and generous. So I used to keep messaging Joseph Radick, who has captured Anushka's, Virat Kohli's wedding, Priyanka Chopra's wedding. So he's a celebrity photographer. He is so humble. He has not missed even a single message that I've sent him. He has replied to all my messages. He has agreed to review my photos. He's a very nice guy. So people are really nice. You just have to keep the shyness away and reach out to people, and they'll help you out. I have a Canon 700D which is old. So should I invest in a new camera or new lenses? No, I would suggest get the basics right, Nishant. So first, try and learn, try and be good. Reach to a point where you are satisfied with your photography, and you should say that, oh, now I need to upskill my devices because I need to do more. So once you are so sure about that point, then only invest in. Otherwise, please do not invest in heavy equipment. When will I know I am professional, not an amateur? I shoot in manual and raw. I have the day people start paying you Vamsi, that's when you realize that you are a professional photographer. Relationship between panoramic and landscape photography. So panoramic is basically it's a mode of photography where you click multiple pictures and you connect them. Landscape picture, a panoramic photo can be a landscape photo or cannot be a landscape photo. Landscape is basically when you have a really wide angle shot. It's not a portrait. It's not basically, there's not a person standing. There's like a huge nature or area to cover. So that's what landscape. Tips for phone photography. Yeah, so one tip is that all more or less, apart from the high end phones like iPhone 10 above, Pixel above, and OnePlus, there are a lot of Oppo also has a really good camera. So what I would say that more or less all the cameras will give you same pictures, but what you have to do differently is open apps like Snapseed and edit them. Okay, so that's when you know that editing will make sure that will give you one extra, the X factor will be added in phone photography. Second is, in phone photography, because you may not get those those close-up effects, try to get the composition right, and that will do the magic for you. How much manual photography is important, how to work with it. Okay, so Andy, what happens in manual photography is you get to control all these aspects in manual photography, which I'd mentioned here. Where did that go? Yeah, these three. So you are so do you guys know those shots where a car in a it's a dark highway in the night, and the car goes down the hill, and there's a trail of the light that goes right. So that is something that is done using that is called a long exposure photography. Okay, so if you keep the shutter speed really high, then you basically get those long exposure photos. Okay, so that you can control in long manual mode. The how much you want a person, the background of a person in a portrait, to blur, that is something that you can capture, that you can control using the aperture. Okay, so you keep the aperture number very small, you will get a very blurred background. If you keep the aperture number very high, you will get a very what do you say, not a very blurred or focused background. Pallavi is asking, I want to upgrade my camera. Which should I buy? I have completed my advanced photography course in photography. I think this is the right time to buy. So Pallavi, it always depends on the budget. Okay, so the cheapest of the cheapest professional camera, they start with, let's say, 1,80,000, and the most expensive can go to lakhs and lakhs of, like, millions of dollars. Okay, so that's something that is completely onto your budget. What I generally suggest is that do not invest a lot in, just invest in a good body once, but you should always invest more in different types of lenses depending on your need. And you should also play around with lights. If you are into fashion photography or you are into wedding photography, you should try to invest in those as well. Um, okay, Chandru is asking, I need some advice on how to play with focus while clicking portraits. So simple, in portraits, keep the aperture less, try to be close to the person, and also try different lenses. Keep the aperture very low. In wide angle photos, what happens in wide angle photos, if you keep the person at the end of the in the frame, the person gets skewed. He might get like really skewed. He might, the angles might change. So what you should do is you should try and get leading lines. So let's say if there's a building or something, then you should try and get those lines. So if you see, this is a wide angle photo, you see these lines, right? These lines are going inside, so these are called leading lines. So try to get these leading lines in your pictures. Okay, that's one. Canon or Sony for weddings? Harshit, I have always been using Canon, so I use Canon. But these days, with what I have used and with my experience, Sony is the camera to go for. So my combination, my ideal combination is Sony's camera body and Sigma's lens. Okay, so my wedding photography collection on my camera, I have a 35 lens. So I always have 3-member team in my, be it a wedding of 100 people or be it a wedding of 2000 people. Minimum number of photographers I need is 3. One, so it's myself. I have a 35 Sigma lens, so I'm always close to the couple. Okay, so I am so close. So this is a 35 shot. I am very close to the bride. So what happens in this is, I generally get close to the bride so that I can shoot very intimate shots. I can be very close to them. Okay. If you are into, and then there's one person who's clicking with, uh, there's one person who's clicking with a really a wide prime lens, which is like a 85 lens. So depending on, different requirements, you get that different setups. Okay. You didn't answer my question. Sorry, I missed the question. Tips for wildlife photography. Money, I haven't done wildlife photography much, or I haven't really done it. But it is basically, you have to get hands on. So you have to use a sports camera, which are cameras like 1DX, Canon 1DX, or Sony 9 Alpha, all these cameras. And plus, you have to use telephoto lenses like, be it 400 or 300 and above. Okay, but you need a lot and lot of for that. Okay, which editing software I prefer? So for balancing light, I use Lightroom, but for balancing, for doing like removing people from the frame and all that, I use Photoshop. Okay. Do you provide internships? I read somewhere. So yeah, I do provide internships. So basically, whenever there's a wedding, guys, get in touch with me on my Instagram pages, on Happiness in KBs, and on my personal personal Instagram page. I do take like 2 to 3 people always extra with me, whom I teach, and those eventually join my team, or they eventually, they start their own photography. Cool. I think we have overshot from by 2 minutes. Is there any, any other questions? Anything that that I've missed. Okay, so Sandeep has one question. So I'll take three more questions. So this is one of them. So he's asking best camera and lenses for portraits. So I would suggest 85 mm is a good portrait lens. So if you see all these close-up shots that we have clicked, so these are all 85 mm shots. You see the kind of depth of field that you get. You see how everything is blurred, the details that you get. So 85 mm of Sigma that I use. For macro photography, 100 mm is a good lens. And for street photography, generally you should go for 2470, which is the default kit lens that you get with good DSLRs. That is a wide as well as a good Photoshop. As well as a good close-up portrait one. Should I have to take a degree to become a Photoshop professional photographer? I do not. I have no degree in photography, but I'm still earning really good money with photography, and it's really something that you should not. But you should learn. Like you should watch YouTube videos. You should do something which will make like for example, you attended this webinar, so that's one way of you have done your part of learning. So keep doing that, and I'm sure you'll have a really good career in photography. Okay, we'll take last one question. Is zoom lens good for portraits? Not really, because for zoom lenses, the aperture is really high and you do not get a really good depth of field in that. Is Sony is Sony 640 camera good for all work like weddings? It's good, but not the best. I wouldn't suggest you to risk the project with this camera. Always, if you do not have a good camera, try to rent it out, as I said. Okay. So I think we should wrap this now, because let's respect everyone's time, and this is the time that we had allocated for everyone. So, guys, amazing response from you, amazing questions, really serious questions. What you can do is Ayur and Ankit's platform, What's Your Chase, is an incredibly creative and innovative and one of its type, where you can set up one-to-one meetings with me. I will give you my slots and get in touch with Ayur. So now I'm sure in half an hour I cannot teach you everything, but I would love to mentor you one on one if you want to. Unfortunately now we can't meet, but once everything, the lockdown gets over, I would love to get you onboarded on my weddings. I would love to have mentorship with you. I would love to meet you and train you. So use the platform, get in touch with me, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, wherever possible, and free feel to get in touch with me whenever you want. And with that note, I would like to wrap this session. Thank you so much, guys. It was a really fun session and was really very informative, and they just boost my confidence and with the kind of response that you have. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Hope to connect with you again.
Thanks, Kapil, for taking time on a Saturday evening. I'm sure you must be busy, but
Pleasure,
glad that
Ayush.
you help these budding photographers. And thank you guys for attending. Hope you liked it and you gained something out of it.